Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Hustle Up podcast. My name is Clint Crow, and this is
Jonathan Hessing.
And today we're filming something called the One and Done, where we're going to keep this segment to 10 minutes long and talk about a topic. Today it's called the Law of Attraction. Woo! The Hustle Up podcast is dedicated to all the movers and shakers out there grinding past a traditional 40-hour work week, aka the minimum that you need to do to not get fired and be an adult in American society. Considered adulting in American society. And we believe in doing 50, 60, 70, 80-hour weeks in order to get that life by design and achieve the results that you actually want to get the maximum results. So on the Law of Attraction, we've seen it popularized through movies like The Secret or popular books Think and Grow Rich, Master Key System. And the idea is not that you can meditate on something or pray for something or just think, I want to be rich, I want a new car, whatever it is that you want, and that it magically appears. The idea is that by holding a clear picture in your head and visualizing that picture over and over and over again so that you know exactly what you want, you know all the details of what you want, then you can take micro action steps a day, an hour, a minute at a time toward bringing this goal into fruition. But it starts with knowing what you actually want. One of the cool tips from Master Key System, and it's repeated again in Think and Grow Rich, is a meditation technique where you take a Polaroid, a picture, a physical picture, and you memorize and map out all the details of the picture. And you stare at it for an hour a day, a minute a day, a specific amount of time. Then you get rid of the picture and you try to map those details back in your head, remembering everything from the color of the scenery, the number of plants, the number of people, whatever's in the scenery, and focusing on that picture. Tying that back to the idea, if you can do this to your future, right? Mm-hmm. If you know what your future is supposed to look like, then you can figure out how to reverse engineer the process and turn that back into whatever goal you are trying to manifest. So if it starts with, hey, I want a Ferrari, how much does that Ferrari cost? How much would you need to make in a month, a week, a day, an hour in order to get that Ferrari? If you have a dream job, what is required of the dream job? Who is it that could get you that dream job? If you have a specific product, what are all the components of the product, right? And figuring out how to reverse engineer whatever process that you're trying to get to in order to turn that into something that is your new reality. It might take a week, it might take a month, it might take 2 years, but if you have a clear goal set and you know what you want and you're chasing after it, then you can actually get after it.
No, I agree 100%. I think one of the important ways to do that is through affirmations and writing your goals down. And that's a little piece of advice that, you know, any of the big thought leaders in personal development or entrepreneurship are big on. And I like to give an example of, you know, when I was in third grade, and math homework was due and my teacher is walking up and down the aisles collecting the homework, I'm rummaging through my backpack like I did my homework, so when she walked past me I could be like, I'm still looking for my homework, knowing damn well I didn't do it, right? And so it's the same thing. Now I reflect on that. Like, the reason I didn't do my homework is because by the time school let out and whatever sport I was playing, you know, in elementary school or middle school, whatever sport I was playing, by the time I got out I had just forgotten about my homework. Had I written it down in somewhere that's accessible to me and stayed disciplined to at least looking at what that, let's say I wrote it down in a schedule, at least I stayed disciplined to looking at my schedule every day after practice, I would have seen and remembered that I had homework. Well, the same thing applies to long-term goals. If you want to reverse engineer, you've got to also wake up reminding yourself and going to sleep every night, reminding your subconscious where it is you want to go. And so that it never becomes that math homework that gets lost. It remains that goal, that burning desire that's always on the forefront of your mind. It's just a way to never forget about it. And so it's when you reverse engineer, plan, right? But then stay disciplined to the continuation of maintaining said goals on the top of your mind. And I also think another good distinction that you made was how it isn't how it is portrayed in the movies. The law of attraction tends to be spoken about without what I think could be called the law of action, right? And that's where you take the example from the movie The Secret. Don't get me wrong, this movie changed my mindset. I recommend it to anyone to get a feel of what we're trying to talk
That's
about.
right. I enjoyed it as well.
Yeah,
it's a good movie.
It definitely put me on. But now, as I've iterated through this and experienced and changed my mindset, what I've noticed is I'm not going to be able to sit there and think about a bike, and a bike is going to show up on my doorstep, which is an example they use in the documentary. It's going to change the patterns I become aware of, therefore changing the things that I act on. When you become aware of different patterns, your actions change. And that's when, and I believe if anyone wants to go back to episode 1 of our podcast of the sit down content, we speak about it there, that you got to be aware of new patterns, take action on those, and then that's when it starts to seem like people and situation and things fly in out of left field. But really you just selectively chose that you're going to be aware of different things, and then you started moving that way, and then different consequences and benefits come your way.
And I've heard of interesting examples where somebody will visualize the parking space that they want, and they always seem to wind up with good parking. Now there's two things here. A, there's just the coincidence that they get the good parking spot. B, they've reverse engineered what time they're going to get the best parking, and they've shown up at the place at the right time to make sure that they get the parking spot that they want. That could mean getting there very early, it could mean getting there very late, right? But for the most part, you're not going to visualize a bike and have it show up on your doorstep. It might happen out of coincidence every now and again, like 4 times in your life, right? But in general, that magic bike won't show up. That being said, if you know exactly what type of bike you want, where you can get it, who manufactures it, and how much it costs, then you can start figuring out A, how much you need to save for it until you have the money, and a month, a year, whenever later you have the bike, or how to get it for free. How could you get a bike for free? What could you trade? What kind of services or time could you trade in order to get this thing for free? Maybe the visualization process is that you want this bike for free. Nothing's free, but free of money. There's that ability to, once you know what you want, make it happen.
Absolutely. And that's another huge piece of it is you got to really know that you want something.
Yeah.
And you've got to be willing to die on that hill for it, figuratively speaking, right? You got to be able to understand that if it fails, you got to go down with that shit. If it succeeds, you're going to win. If it starts going great, you're going to have benefits, and if it starts going negatively, you're going to have consequences. You've got to be okay with that process and still take on the endeavor with full faith and confidence, because any little crack in confidence or any little crack in faith is like a windshield crack, and it only gets bigger and bigger until it smashes in.
That's right. And so let's say there's a specific job that you want, right? Are you willing to do whatever it takes to get this job? Who makes the hiring process? Would you work for free for a year, for a month, for whatever amount of time in order to get this job for the rest of your life? Maybe you know that you want to go into business for yourself. But are you going to be self-employed? Are you going to be a business owner? Are you going to be an investor? And what are the types of things that are required of these roles? Because just being self-employed, you could be a ridiculously good technician. You could be super hot at your job and decide, I only want to work for me, but not be familiar with all the back-end work, all of the accounting, all of the CRM management process that goes into that. Well, maybe you don't want to fool with that. So you outsource the accounting out to somebody. All that you want to do is focus on the technician part of your job and set your own hours and work for yourself, essentially, right? But then maybe you decide, hey, I want to be in this industry, but I'd rather be a business owner. So I'm going to hire the salespeople, and I'm going to hire the technicians, and I'm going to hire the managers that are required. And I'm pulling this from Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth. He says that within every entrepreneur, you have 3 personalities: the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur, the visionary. The technician is living in the present. He's solving problems now. He may or may not be selling the jobs, but he's the one performing the service or the task, right? The manager is focused on the past. He's learning from the mistakes and figuring out how to improve efficiency and learn from past failures so that they're not repeated. And the visionary, the entrepreneur, he's the one focused on the future. He's the one focused on the strategic planning and the business direction in order to determine the growth trajectory, both in terms of speed, how fast we're going to grow, and into what area we're going to grow. What's the company that we're going to become, right? And so if you decide that you want to live in this business owner and investor quadrant, which I'm pulling from Rich Dad Investment, Robert Kiyosaki, he says that there's 4 quadrants. You've got employee in the top left, you have self-employed in the bottom left, you have business owner in the top right, and you have investor in the bottom right. What your goal is to hang out on the right side of the quadrant. You either want to be a business owner or an investor, or both, right? Maybe you own several businesses and this is how you spend your time and this is how you direct your focus. But what you're looking at is scalability. How are you automating processes to get jobs off of your plate and delegating them to the right people? So how are you going to scale efficiently?
So to tie that back to the law of attraction, what are you saying, that by taking the proper action steps and knowing where your strengths are and how to apply them, the cumulative organization's law of attraction will work in favor?
Well, with the law of attraction, by hanging out in the right side of the quadrant, you're creating that life by design. So you're by moving things off your plate. And I don't know who said this, but I've heard my dad say it a lot. Only do the things that only you can do. You want to move away from these low important, low urgency tasks, right? Like you're going to farm that out to management and lower management. And then you also want to stay away from high importance and high urgency, because these are your time wasters. There will always be stuff that pops up that's high importance, high urgency. Going back to another quadrant, this is Stephen Covey, and he says where you want to spend the most amount of your time is in quadrant 3, high importance, low urgency. This is your strategic planning phase, right? This is your law of attraction phase. What's the vision? Where are we going? And how do we get there? Then reverse engineering the process to say, this is what the end result looks like. What's step 5? Then what's step 4? Then what's step 3? And going all the way back to what's the next thing that I can do today to manifest this goal, this dream, this vision into a reality, and turn this into, one day I will wake up and the vision's there. It's been accomplished, right? I've brought this into fruition. And then it's a surreal moment. I know you've seen it. I've seen it. There's this surreal moment where you go, wow, this dream, this goal, this vision just manifested. Like I just moved up a tax bracket or 3. The goal, the problem that I was trying to solve, there's now a solution for it, right? And they're happy customers and they're great customer reviews. And you've brought this manifest destiny into the reality. And so now you got to go back to quadrant 3 and develop a new strategic vision. It's never enough, right? Because once you've reached that goal, there's almost this sadness that gets accompanied with the goal, in that now I've got to figure out something else. This problem's been solved, and now I got to direct my efforts towards something else. And then once you do direct those, then it's time to solve a new goal, solve a new problem, right? Where you see this problem with pastors a lot. Pastors and preachers will start a church, and once they've got it off the ground, it's time to go start a new church. It's time to go plant. Let's get somebody new in here to lead. And you see these guys that started these great churches rarely stay in those churches. It's like a 3-5 year cycle, right? Same thing with entrepreneurs. Same thing. Once they reach that goal, reach that fruition, you're hungry.
You gotta keep moving.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this is the law of attraction, one and done pro tip. Law of attraction Don't forget that the law of attraction is nothing without the law of action, which according to this conversation I can break down as setting goals, affirming goals, reverse engineering those goals, and then planning out how you're going to get to those goals. Don't forget the law of attraction is nothing without the law of action. This is your Hustle Up One and Done Pro Tips. Hustle Up at HSTLUP, www.hstlup.com. We're bringing you a different kind of conversation, and we are your media mastermind. So spread the love, spread the word. Until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Clint.
Peace out, y'all. Hustle up!